Every June I'll see you. So when I was in high school, my uncle invited me to live with him in Washington, D.C. And he was there because he's a drug enforcement officer, and he was going to do a mission in Bolivia. So he was going to be living there for about 6 months, and I was really kind of apprehensive about living with him because he's a macho guy, you know, like imagine the kind of guy that, you know, chooses to become a drug enforcement officer and go to Bolivia to fight drug cartels. And, you know, I'm like this really kind of extremely awkward, kind of eccentric, closeted teenager who also is kind of can see themselves experimenting with drugs someday. But, you know, I'm from Idaho, so I was like, you know, the idea of like living in a big city was just like so alluring. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And so I was ahead in high school, so I was able to take the semester off. I didn't have to go to school, so instead I got a job at Barnes & Noble, and I was a cashier. And one of my jobs as a cashier was restocking the newsstand. Whenever there was like a new magazine or newspaper came out, I'd restock them. And that's when I discovered adult-themed magazines. They were the ones that were like wrapped in plastic, and like I couldn't see inside of them, and I was too young to buy them. But there were a few with names like Jock and Unzipped, and just simply men that were just so appealing to me. And my, you know, hormonal teenage mind devised a plan to get my hands on one of them. Everybody at work knew that I was too young to buy them, but I figured if I went during a school day, because theoretically I should be in school, and use my employee discount at a different Barnes & Noble location, they wouldn't ask for my ID, and they would just like sell me the magazine. So that's what I did. I went to the downtown Barnes & Noble, and I did that thing that presumably everybody does when you're buying something that's incriminating. You know, you grab a few things at the register. You know, I got the newest paperback bestseller and a couple postcards to send home, some bookmarks, some mints. I'll take a unzipped magazine, please. And here's my employee discount card. And she didn't bat an eye. She just like sold everything to me, and I went home and I had my first like gay magazine, and I was so excited. It worked so well that I was like, I'm stocking these magazines at my location, and I see a new issue, and I go to the downtown location, and I buy that issue, and I'm slowly like building up this like big porn collection. And the other thing that I was really into was thrifting, and I would take the metro like all over the Washington, D.C. suburbs and just like treasure hunt. And so by the end of my stay there, I had amassed a lot of stuff. Like between my porn collection and all my like thrifting like treasures, I was like trying to pack my carry-on, and I was like, this is gonna be like way over the weight limit, and my uncle is gonna be so embarrassed. And so I was like trying to be strategic, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna pack all the books and magazines in my carry-on because they're the heaviest, and you know, like, and that will save me space in my check bag. And I had found this like really beautiful vintage piece of luggage, and that was gonna be my carry-on. And so I packed that full of all the magazines and books, and I had this super heavy bag that I was gonna check, and of course we're running late to the airport, and I'm lugging this giant bag that's so heavy that I'm still worried it's not gonna pass the weight limit. And my uncle helps me, and he grabs my vintage suitcase, and this brute of a man does not understand the delicate care that you have to take with vintage luggage. And he's swinging it to and fro, and those metal clasps give way, and that suitcase bursts open. And there's my uncle standing with gay porn on. Like there's Colton Ford smiling up at us with this like full manhood, like from an issue of Unzipped magazine, and I'd also bought this like giant book of Tom of Finland illustrations, and for all of you straight people, Tom of Finland does like really interesting homoerotic art. So there's this like there's this illustration of a cop like enforcing the law with this like biker gang, like in a very like. I saw all of that, but after that, I don't know what happened because I was in so much shock that I just like. I know that we left a trash can full of gay porn at Washington Airport. My Tom of Finland book did make it home with me, and I think maybe because like I could excuse it as art. Yeah, and so that's kind of how it came out to my uncle, and like an entire terminal of onlookers. But maybe since he was carrying the suitcase, they assumed it was his boy. Which is hilarious to me. But anyway, like of all the ways you can come out to a family member, like that's not one that I would recommend.